When diplomacy meets silence, Ambassador. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the diplomatic station orbiting Earth, watching the blue marble slowly rotate beneath her feet. The peaceful sight filled her with the same wonder she had felt as a child, dreaming of the stars. Today, however, that peace would be shattered by words from across the galaxy. Ambassador Chen, the delegation from the Galactic Federation has arrived, announced her aide, Lieutenant Commander David Park. His voice carried an unusual tension that made Chen turn from the window. Show them to conference room Alpha, Chen replied, straightening her formal diplomatic uniform. She had been Earth's primary ambassador to alien species for 15 years. But something about today felt different. The Federation's request for this meeting had been marked as urgent and classified at the highest levels. The delegation that entered the conference room was unlike any Chen had seen before. 3 different species stood before her, but their usual proud bearing was replaced by something she rarely saw. In advanced alien civilization's desperation, Council Speaker Vex of the Galactic Federation stepped forward first. The tall, blue-skinned being's crystalline eyes held a weariness that spoke of centuries of conflict. Behind him stood General Kor, a heavily muscled reptilian species known for their military prowess, and Dr. Elena, whose tentacled form housed one of the most brilliant scientific minds in known space. Ambassador Chen, Vex began, his voice carrying the weight of his office. We come before humanity with a request that we never thought we would need to make. The Galactic Federation requires Earth's assistance in our war against the Void Seekers. Chen had heard whispers of this conflict, but Earth had always remained neutral in galactic politics. Council Speaker, as you know, Earth's position has always been one of peaceful exploration and scientific advancement. We don't involve ourselves in military conflicts. General Kor's scales rippled with barely contained frustration. Ambassador, you don't understand the threat we face. The Void Seekers aren't like other enemies. They don't conquer worlds, they consume them entirely. They strip planets of all life, all resources, leaving nothing but dead rock floating in space. Dr. Lena's tentacles writhed as she accessed her data pad. In the past century, we have lost 47 inhabited worlds to their advance. Over 12 billion sentient beings have been absorbed into their collective. Our conventional military strategies have failed repeatedly. Chen felt a chill run down her spine, but Earth's position remained unchanged. I sympathize with your plight, but humanity has chosen a different path. We focus on exploration, research, and peaceful contact with other species. Our military exists only for defense. Defense that may soon be tested, Vex warned, his crystalline eyes glowing brighter with emotion. The Void Seekers have begun expanding their territory in this direction. Earth lies directly in their projected path of conquest. Then perhaps it's time for the Federation to consider new strategies, Chen replied. Diplomatically, have you tried negotiation, understanding their motivations? General Kor slammed his clawed hand on the table, leaving deep scratches in the metal surface. You cannot negotiate with beings that view all other life as mere resources to be consumed. They communicate only through destruction. Chen remained calm despite the general's outburst. Throughout her career, she had learned that maintaining composure was crucial in diplomatic situations. General, Earth has faced many challenges throughout our history. We've learned that there's always another way, another solution that doesn't involve warfare. Your naivety will be your doom, Dr. Elena said quietly, her voice filled with scientific precision rather than emotion. I have studied the Void Seekers for decades. They operate with perfect efficiency. They identify the strongest military assets of a civilization and eliminate them first. Then they systematically harvest everything else. What exactly are you asking of Earth? Chen inquired, though she suspected she already knew the answer. We need your technology. Vex explained. Human innovation is unlike anything we've seen in the galaxy. Your species approaches problems from angles that would never occur to us. Your weapons technology, your tactical thinking, your ability to adapt these could turn the tide of a war we've been losing for a century. Chen shook her head slowly. Council Speaker, I appreciate your confidence in humanity, but you overestimate our capabilities. We're explorers and scientists, not warriors. Our weapons technology consists mainly of mining equipment and asteroid deflection systems. Perhaps, Dr. Elena interjected. But your species has a history of rapid military innovation when threatened. Your own historical records show countless examples of technological advancement during times of conflict. That was our past, Chen replied firmly. Modern humanity has moved beyond such things. We settled our differences through diplomacy and cooperation. War is an obsolete concept to us. The 3 aliens exchanged glances that spoke of private communications through their neural links. Finally, Vex spoke again. Ambassador, we respect Earth's position. But we must warn you neutrality will not protect you from the Void Seekers. They do not distinguish between combatants and non-combatants, between military targets and civilian populations. Then we'll face that challenge when it comes, Chen said with quiet confidence. Earth has always found a way to survive and thrive. We'll continue to do so through peaceful means. General Kor's expression showed his disbelief. You would rather face extinction than fight for your survival? We would rather find solutions that don't require the destruction of others, Chen corrected. Throughout our history, our greatest achievements have come through cooperation, not conflict. After the delegation departed, Chen found herself alone, in the conference room, staring out at the stars. Lieutenant Commander Park entered quietly and stood beside her. Ma'am, do you think we made the right choice? He asked. Chen was quiet for a long moment before responding. David, humanity spent thousands of years fighting each other over resources, territory, and ideology. When we finally learned to work together, we achieved more in 100 years than we had in the previous millennium. I won't be the one to drag us back to our violent past. But what if they're right about the threat? Then we'll handle it the same way we've handled every other challenge together, peacefully, and with the full power of human ingenuity. 3 months later, Chen's faith in peaceful solutions would be tested in the most brutal way possible. The emergency klaxons aboard Titan Research Station had been silent for so long that many of the staff didn't immediately recognize the sound. Dr. Rachel Martinez, the station's chief researcher, looked up from her analysis of Saturn's atmospheric compositions with confusion rather than alarm. What's that noise? Asked her assistant, Marcus Thompson, a young graduate student who had joined the station only 6 months earlier. Before Martinez could answer, the station's communications system crackled to life. All personnel, this is Station Commander Bradley. We have 3 unidentified vessels approaching at high speed. They are not responding to our hails and do not match any known Federation ship designs. All non-essential personnel report to emergency shelters immediately. Martinez felt her blood turn cold. Titan Station was a purely scientific facility, home to 200 researchers and their families. They had no military defenses, no weapons beyond the mining equipment used to extract ice samples. The station's only protection was its isolation. In Saturn's system and Earth's reputation for neutrality, Dr. Martinez to command. She spoke into her communicator. What's the status on those ships? Could they be a new Federation design we weren't informed about? Commander Bradley's voice returned, tight with stress. Negative, Doctor. I've just received word from Earth Command. These vessels match descriptions of Void Seeker craft from Federation intelligence reports. The words hit Martinez like a physical blow. She had read the classified reports about the Void Seekers, had seen the horrific images of worlds stripped bare of all life. The idea that such creatures would target a peaceful research station was almost incomprehensible. All hands prepare for evacuation, Bradley ordered. Begin transmitting all research data to Earth immediately. If these are indeed Void Seekers, we cannot allow our work to fall into their hands. Martinez began frantically copying her atmospheric research, 5 years of work that could revolutionize weather prediction across the galaxy. Beside her, Marcus was transferring his geological surveys of Saturn's moons. Around them, other researchers worked with desperate efficiency to preserve their life's work. Dr. Martinez. Came a young voice over the intercom. It was Jenny Foster, one of the teachers in the station's small school. The children are asking what's happening. What should I tell them? Martinez closed her eyes, thinking of the 32 children who lived on the station with their researcher parents. Kids who had been born among the stars, who had never known war or violence, whose greatest worry had been their homework assignments. Tell them it's just a drill, Jenny. Tell them their parents love them. The first impact shook the entire station. Emergency lights flickered as the main power grid tried to compensate for the damage. Through the observation windows, Martinez could see one of the alien ships, a dark, angular vessel that seemed to absorb light, rather than reflect it. Unknown vessels, this is Titan Research Station. Commander Bradley broadcast on all frequencies. We are a civilian scientific facility. We have no military assets and pose no threat to you. Please state your intentions. The response came not in words, but in weapons fire. The second blast tore through the station's outer hull, vending atmosphere and 3 research labs into space. Martinez watched in horror as a colleague, Dr. William Chen, was sucked through a breach in the hull before emergency barriers could engage. All hands. Abandon station, Bradley ordered, his voice now filled with resigned determination. This is not a drill. Proceed to evacuation pods immediately. Martinez grabbed Marcus's arm and pulled him toward the nearest escape route. Around them, Families were separating as parents pushed their children towards safety while staying behind too. By that time, she saw Dr. Amanda Price, the station's xenobiologist, helping children into an evacuation pod while her husband, Dr. Robert Price, worked frantically to transfer critical research data. "I love you," Robert called to his wife as the pod sealed. "Take care of Sarah and Michael." Those were the last words Amanda Price would ever hear from her husband. The third blast hit just as Martinez and Marcus reached their assigned evacuation pod. The explosion threw them both against the bulkhead, and Martinez felt something crack in her ribs. Marcus was unconscious, blood flowing from a head wound. With strength born of desperation, Martinez dragged the young man into the pod and sealed it behind them. As their small craft ejected from the dying station, she could see the Void Seeker ships methodically destroying what remained of Titan Station. But it wasn't just destruction, it was harvesting. Dark tendrils extended from the alien vessels, collecting the debris, the equipment, even the bodies of those who hadn't escaped. Martinez realized with sick horror that the Void Seekers weren't just destroying the station. They were consuming it, breaking it down at the molecular level, absorbing everything into their ships. The evacuation pod's emergency beacon activated, automatically transmitting their location back to Earth. As Martinez watched Titan Station disappear into the maws of the alien vessels, she realized that humanity's age of peaceful neutrality had just come to an end. Of the 200 souls who had called Titan Station home, only 37 escape pods made it to safety. 143 people, researchers, engineers, teachers, children, had been consumed by the Void Seekers in less than an hour. The news reached Earth 6 hours later. President Marcus Webb sat in the Oval Office, staring at the preliminary report from Titan Station. The words seemed to blur together on the page. Total facility loss, significant casualties. Void Seeker attack confirmed. Each phrase hit him like a physical blow. "Mr. President," his chief of staff, Rebecca Adams, entered quietly. "The families of the Titan Station personnel are demanding answers. The media is asking why our people were left defenseless." Webb looked up from the report, his face showing every one of his 62 years. "Because we believed that good intentions and peaceful policies would protect us. We were wrong, sir. Ambassador Chen is requesting a meeting with you and the Joint Chiefs. She says it's urgent. Show her in." When Chen entered the Oval Office 10 minutes later, she looked like she had aged a decade in the past day. Her usually immaculate appearance was disheveled, and her eyes were red from crying. "Mr. President," she began, her voice barely above a whisper, "I was wrong. I was so terribly wrong." Webb gestured for her to sit. "Sarah, you couldn't have known." "No," she interrupted, her voice growing stronger. "I could have known. The Federation gave us all the intelligence we needed. They told us exactly what these creatures were capable of. And I ignored it because I believed that our good intentions would somehow make us immune to the reality of what's out there." "What are you recommending?" Chen took a deep breath before answering. "Mr. President, I recommend that we immediately contact the Galactic Federation and offer our full support in their war against the Void Seekers. And I recommend that we make it clear to everyone, allies and enemies alike, that the attack on Titan Station was the gravest mistake the Void Seekers have ever made." Webb was quiet for a long moment, thinking of the children who had died in the cold vacuum around Saturn. Finally, he spoke. "Give me Admiral Torres. It's time to activate Project Silent Guardian." Admiral Lisa Torres had been waiting for this call for 20 years. As she stood in the hidden command center beneath the Colorado Rockies, she looked at the massive displays showing Earth's true military capability, the capability that they had kept secret from the galaxy. "Mr. President," she said into the secure communication link, "Project Silent Guardian is ready for activation. All assets are prepared for immediate deployment." "Admiral, I'm authorizing full activation. Show the galaxy what humanity is really capable of when we stop holding back." Torres smiled grimly as she turned to her staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 50 years, humanity has chosen to present itself as a peaceful, exploration-focused species. We've hidden our true capabilities because we believed the galaxy wasn't ready to see what we could do when motivated." She gestured to the displays around them, showing sleek warships emerging from hidden bases, advanced weapon systems coming online, and tactical displays that would make Federation generals weep with envy. The Void Seekers have just learned why Earth has been so quiet for so long. It wasn't because we were weak. It was because we were being polite. As the first human warship, the UES Retribution powered up its engines and prepared to leave Earth's solar system, a message was broadcast across the galaxy on all frequencies. "This is President Marcus Webb of Earth. To the Galactic Federation, we are ready to join your war. To the Void Seekers, You attacked our children. You destroyed our people who wanted nothing more than to learn and explore. You made the worst mistake any species has ever made. You woke us up. Earth is coming. The galaxy was about to learn what humanity looked like when the gloves came off. When Earth goes to war, the first thing that surprised the Galactic Federation was how quickly humanity mobilized. Council Speaker Vex had expected Earth to take months to prepare for war, as most civilized species did. Instead, within 72 hours of the Titan Station attack, human warships were already moving through hyperspace toward Federation space. The second thing that surprised him was their technology. These readings can't be correct, Dr. Elena said, her tentacles writhing with confusion as she studied the sensor data from the approaching human fleet. According to these scans, their ships are using propulsion systems that shouldn't be possible. General Kor stood beside her in the Federation Command Center, his reptilian features showing rare uncertainty. How many ships are they bringing? That's just it, Elena replied. The sensors show 12 vessels, but the energy signature suggests they have the combined firepower of at least 60 traditional Federation warships. Vex activated his communication link. Human fleet, this is Council Speaker Vex of the Galactic Federation. We are honored by your rapid response to our crisis. The reply came immediately, the voice crisp and professional. Council Speaker, this is Admiral Lisa Torres commanding the 1st Human Battle Group. We're here to end this war. Admiral, we appreciate your enthusiasm, but you should understand that we've been fighting the Void Seekers for over a century. This conflict won't be resolved quickly. There was a pause before Torres responded, and when she did, her voice carried a cold edge that made Vex's crystalline skin shiver. Council Speaker, with respect, you've been fighting them the wrong way. We're going to show you how Earth handles bullies. When the human ships arrived at the Federation staging area near the Proxima defense line, they looked unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Where Federation ships were designed for durability and long campaigns, human vessels appeared to be built for one purpose: killing efficiently. Captain Alex Rivera commanded one of the smaller human ships, the UES Vengeance. As he reviewed the tactical situation with his crew, he couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction at what they were about to do. Captain, his communications officer, Lieutenant Sarah Park, reported, we're receiving fleet coordination data from Admiral Torres. Our first target is a Void Seeker supply convoy in the Zeta Reticuli system. Rivera's tactical officer, Commander James Mitchell, looked up from his displays. Sir, Federation intelligence shows that convoy is protected by 6 Void Seeker warships. They recommend we wait for additional Federation support before engaging. Recommendations noted and ignored, Rivera replied. The Federation has been playing defense for a century. We're going to show them what offense looks like. Dr. James Carter, formerly of the Titan Station research team and now serving as the fleet's strategic advisor, reviewed the intelligence reports with the clinical precision that had made him one of Earth's top atmospheric scientists. But now his brilliant mind was focused on a different kind of problem: how to most efficiently destroy an enemy. Admiral Torres, he said over the command channel, I've analyzed the Void Seeker tactical patterns from the past century of conflict. They rely on 3 key advantages: superior numbers, energy absorption technology, and psychological warfare through consumption of captured enemies. What do you recommend, Doctor? We remove all 3 advantages simultaneously. First, we use our speed and stealth technology to never face their full numbers at once. Second, we use kinetic weapons and exotic matter warheads that can't be absorbed by their energy collectors. Third, Carter paused, a cold smile crossing his face. Third, we turn their psychological warfare against them. The Void Seeker convoy in the Zeta Reticuli system had been traveling the same route for 3 years, without incident. Supreme Collector Zephyr Prime commanded the convoy from his flagship, a massive dark vessel that pulsed with absorbed energy from a dozen conquered worlds. Status report, Zephyr Prime commanded, his voice a mix of mechanical precision and organic hunger. All collection vessels report full capacity, replied his subordinate, Harvester 7. The resources from the last 3 systems will provide sufficient materials for the next phase of expansion. Excellent. Continue to the processing stations. The consumed biomass must be converted to useful materials before the first human torpedoes struck Harvester 7's ship without warning. The exotic matter warhead didn't explode in the traditional sense. Instead, it created a localized space-time distortion that simply deleted a 100-meter section of the Void Seeker vessel from existence. Alert, alert, unknown attack pattern. Harvester 7's panic transmission filled the convoy's communication channels. Before cutting to static, Zephyr Prime's sensors couldn't locate the attackers. Where are they? How did they penetrate our detection grid? The answer came in the form of 6 human ships to cloaking simultaneously, their weapons already locked onto their targets. The UES Vengeance opened fire with its kinetic accelerators, sending tungsten slugs at a significant fraction of light speed directly into the engine sections of 2 Void Seeker escorts. By the void, Zephyr Prime whispered, "These weapons cannot be absorbed." Captain Rivera's voice came over all Void Seeker communication frequencies, speaking in their own language, something that should have been impossible, since humans had never encountered them before. "Attention Void Seekers, you made a mistake. When you attacked Titan Station, those were our children, our teachers, our scientists. They wanted nothing more than to learn and explore. Now you're going to learn what happens when you hurt something humanity cares about." The battle lasted exactly 14 minutes. When it was over, 5 Void Seeker ships had been completely destroyed, and 1 Zephyr Prime's flagship had been disabled and captured. The human fleet had suffered exactly 0 casualties. But the real psychological impact came when the humans began their interrogation of the captured Void Seekers. Dr. Carter, applying his scientific methodology to intelligence gathering, had developed techniques that were far more effective than anything the Federation had ever imagined. "You see," Carter explained to the captured Zephyr Prime, "we don't need to consume you to understand you. We just need to think like scientists. We observe, we analyze, we experiment, and we learn." Through a combination of psychological pressure, tactical deception, and simple human insight, Carter extracted more intelligence about Void Seeker operations in 6 hours than the Federation had gathered in 50 years of war. "They're not as unified as we thought," Carter reported to Admiral Torres. "Their collective consciousness has hierarchical structures. If we can identify and eliminate their supreme coordinators, entire fleets will become confused and vulnerable." "How many supreme coordinators are there?" "According to our new friend here, exactly 7. They coordinate all Void Seeker operations across this entire galactic region." Torres smiled, the first genuine smile she'd shown since learning about Titan Station. "Doctor, I think you've just shown us how to win this war." The next phase of human operations began immediately. Instead of the large fleet actions that had characterized the Federation's century of warfare, humans began conducting what they called precision strikes. Small groups of ships would appear at critical Void Seeker installations, eliminate key targets with surgical precision, and disappear before reinforcements could arrive. Council Speaker Vex watched the tactical displays from the Federation Command Center with growing amazement. In just 3 weeks, human forces had crippled Void Seeker operations across 7 star systems. Their supply lines were in chaos, their coordination was breaking down, and their previously unstoppable advance had ground to a halt. "How are they doing this?" General Kor asked, his voice filled with professional admiration. "My best strategists have been studying their tactics, and we can't understand their approach." Dr. Elena looked up from her analysis. "It's not just their technology, though that's far more advanced than they led us to believe. It's their thinking. They approach warfare like they approach science. They form hypotheses, test them, and adapt instantly when they learn something new. But their brutality," Vex said quietly, "the psychological warfare they're conducting against the Void Seekers is disturbing, is it?" Kor challenged. "The Void Seekers have consumed 12 billion sentient beings. The humans are simply making sure they understand the consequences of their actions." The truth was that human psychological operations were having an unprecedented effect on Void Seeker morale. For the first time in their collective memory, the Void Seekers were experiencing something they had never felt before: fear. Supreme Coordinator Prime Alpha received reports from across the battle zone, each one worse than the last. The humans weren't just defeating Void Seeker forces. They were systematically dismantling the entire structure of their civilization. "They broadcast messages to our fleets," reported Coordinator Secondary Beta. "They tell our ships exactly when and where they will be attacked. Then they follow through with perfect precision." "Impossible," Prime Alpha responded. "Our collective consciousness gives us tactical advantages no individual species can match. Not against these humans. They seem to anticipate our responses before we make them." The reason for human success was actually quite simple, though. The Void Seekers couldn't understand it. Dr. Carter had realized that the Void Seeker collective consciousness, while powerful, was also predictable. They thought in patterns, followed algorithms, optimized for efficiency rather than creativity. Humans, on the other hand, were chaotic, unpredictable, and individually creative. Each human commander brought their own personality, their own insights, their own way of thinking to the battlefield. The result was a tactical flexibility that the Void Seekers simply couldn't counter. Admiral Torres, Captain Rivera reported after his latest successful mission. "We've eliminated the 4th Supreme Coordinator. Void Seeker forces in this sector are showing complete tactical breakdown. Excellent work. Captain, how are our supplies holding up? That's the beautiful part, Admiral. We're using their own resources against them. Every ship we capture, every base we take, we convert their materials into ammunition for our weapons. They're literally financing their own destruction. The final battle came sooner than anyone expected. Supreme Coordinator Prime Alpha, desperate to salvage something from the disaster, gathered the remaining Void Seeker fleets for one massive assault on the Federation's capital world. If we can destroy their command structure, Prime Alpha calculated the humans will lose their coordination advantage. It was the kind of logical, predictable thinking that had made the Void Seekers so vulnerable to human tactics. Admiral Torres received intelligence about the planned attack 12 hours before it began. They're committing everything to this assault, she told her commanders. Every remaining Void Seeker ship, every Supreme Coordinator, all their reserve forces. What are our orders, Admiral? Captain Rivera asked. Torres looked at the tactical display showing the massive Void Seeker fleet approaching Federation space. We end this war today. The battle of the Federation capital was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Void Seekers arrived with over 300 ships, expecting to face the usual Federation defensive fleet. Instead, they found 36 human vessels waiting for them. The humans didn't engage in the kind of mass fleet action the Void Seekers expected. Instead, they broke into small groups and began attacking from every direction at once, using their superior speed and stealth technology to appear and disappear like ghosts. Focus fire on their command ships, Torres ordered. Take out their Supreme Coordinators and the entire fleet becomes a mob. Dr. Carter, monitoring the battle from his command ship, watched as human tactics systematically dismantled the Void Seeker formation. They're trying to adapt, he reported. But they can't change their fundamental nature. They think collectively, which means they can't handle multiple simultaneous crises. The battle lasted for hours. When it was over, the Void Seeker threat to the galaxy had been permanently eliminated. Prime Alpha and the remaining Supreme Coordinators were either dead or captured, their fleets scattered and destroyed. But the real victory wasn't just military, it was psychological. The galaxy learned that humanity, when motivated, was not the peaceful, exploration-focused species they had pretended to be. They were something far more dangerous, a species that combined advanced technology with individual creativity, scientific methodology with warrior instincts, and above all, an absolute refusal to accept defeat when protecting something they cared about. Council Speaker Vex met with Admiral Torres aboard her flagship after the battle. Admiral, on behalf of the Galactic Federation, I want to thank you for saving our civilization. Torres looked out at the wreckage of the Void Seeker fleet floating in space. Council Speaker, we didn't do this to save your civilization. We did it because they hurt our people. I understand. But surely you realize that this victory makes Earth one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. What are your intentions now? Torres turned to face him, her expression serious. Our intentions are the same as they've always been: exploration, scientific advancement, and peaceful contact with other species. But now everyone knows what happens if you threaten that peace. She gestured to the tactical displays showing human ships already beginning search and rescue operations for Void Seeker prisoners and Federation casualties. We're going home, Council Speaker. Back to our laboratories and our research stations and our schools, but we'll be listening. And if anyone, anywhere in this galaxy, thinks they can repeat what the Void Seekers did, Torres left the sentence unfinished, but Vex understood perfectly. 3 months later, Earth had returned to its normal peacetime activities. The human battle fleet was once again hidden. The soldiers had returned to their civilian lives, and Ambassador Chen was back to conducting routine diplomatic missions. But throughout the galaxy, a new phrase had entered the languages of dozens of species. When someone was contemplating an act of aggression against peaceful peoples, their friends would remind them, don't wake the humans. The galaxy had learned that Earth's silence wasn't weakness, it was restraint. And that restraint was now the only thing protecting the universe from finding out just how dangerous humanity could be when they stopped being polite. The Void Seekers had made the mistake of awakening the sleeping giant. They paid for that mistake with their civilization. No one else wanted to make the same error.